Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. This is Darth Chaco and I'm talking Why I Love The Last Jedi Part 2. Surprise, surprise, we're still talking about Luke on this one, but there's more to say. As always, whether you love or hate the film, all opinions are valid. I stand by that. I'm just making this to kind of show you guys what I see when I look at it, and who knows, maybe you'll see a different perspective. And also, I just want to clear up some misconceptions that I see on a regular basis about this film. So without further ado, Why I Love The Last Jedi, Part 2, also Luke. If you haven't seen part 1 of this series, then recommend checking it out. I'll leave a link in the description. But if you're one of the people that really dislike the fact that Luke is a hermit and the fact that he ran away from everyone, I totally get that. It's very, very valid. The thing I try to remind people is that happened in The Force Awakens, right? We find out that Han straight up says that he had a student that ruined his school. He felt guilty and walked away from it all.
He was training a new generation of Jedi. One boy, an apprentice, turned against him, destroyed it all. Luke felt responsible. He just walked away from everything.
So the thing I try to stress is that Luke Skywalker as a character was already in his broken form when he was handed to Rian Johnson. And Rian Johnson was tasked with finding out why is he on this island and what could possibly put Luke Skywalker in this situation. So he was kind of stuck playing cleanup, but I really enjoyed how he did it. And that's what I want to get into in this video. But first, let's start with some housekeeping. We see the altercation that he has with Ben in his hut 3 different times. We see one that's biased by Luke where he's not admitting his fault. We see one that's biased by Ben. And then we see the third version, what actually happened.
I saw darkness. I'd sensed it building in him. I'd seen it in moments during his training. But then I looked inside, and it was beyond what I ever imagined. Snoke had already turned his heart. He would bring destruction and pain and death and the end of everything I love because of what he will become. And for the briefest moment of pure instinct, I thought I could stop it. It passed like a fleeting shadow.
If I were to sit here and use the version that we know didn't happen, where Luke doesn't admit his wrongdoing, well then you shouldn't trust me, right? Because I'm showing you something biased in order to try and make you think a certain way, right? Likewise, if you see someone using the version from Ben that you know didn't happen, same exact thing. Either that person is biased against it and they're trying to show you false information to make you feel that way, or they just didn't understand it and they don't understand that that's not what actually happened. So just keep that in mind for housekeeping and when you see further videos or thumbnails or whatever about it. The first question that normally pops up is this out of character for Luke? Well, no, it's not. But it's looking at Luke as he actually is, as Luke the man, not as we want to remember him, as Luke the hero. So as we look back at Empire Strikes Back, for instance, Luke instantly dropped out of training. The one thing that he wanted to do, he was trying to be a Jedi Knight like his father, but when he sensed that the people that he loved and cared about were in trouble, man, he had an emotional reaction and he dropped everything and ran to them despite the logic being against it. Now, Luke is straight up told not to go, and he's told that this is a trap, but he is going to risk his life to do what he believes is right by everyone else. And that's been the core of his character, his selfless nature, and I absolutely love it. This is what makes me fall in love with the character to begin with. We even see the same Luke in Return of the Jedi. Even though he's vastly different personality-wise from one film to the other, we still see him have that selfless attitude. You know, he goes to the forest moon of Endor, but realizes that his presence is endangering the mission. So what does he do? He turns himself in. When he is in the throne room, he's very calm, and soon I will be dead, and you along with me. He doesn't believe he's going to make it out there because he's always willing to die for what he believes is right. Now, when Palpatine threatens his friends and he feels for the safety of those that he loves, he loses composure.
The Alliance will die, as will your friends. Good. I can feel your anger. I am defenseless. Take your weapon. Strike me down with all of your hatred, and your journey towards the dark side will be complete.
He gets emotional. He turns and he tries to strike down Palpatine. As Luke's fight with Vader continues, he hits a part where he regains his composure and he goes into hiding and he's trying not to fight.
You cannot hide forever, Luke.
I will not fight you.
But as soon as Vader brings up his sister, Leia, someone that he loves, he loses all control of himself.
Sister. So, you have a twin sister. Your feelings have now betrayed her too. Obi-Wan was wise to hide her from me. Now his failure is complete. If you will not turn to the dark side, then perhaps she will.
And tries to bludgeon Vader to death, even though this is a man that he's idolized his entire life. Now, remember, he didn't always know his dad was Vader, but even as a kid, he looked up to his father as someone that was on a navigator on a spice freighter, and he wanted to be a pilot. And he finds out his dad was a Jedi Knight, and he wants to be a Jedi. He's looking up to this man before he finds out what he had become. But even with seeing light in Vader, he lost all control when what he loved was in danger. Luke walked into that hut with Ben without confrontational or murderous intent at all. He just wanted to check on his nephew, who he's been seeing this darkness that, has always been there, getting worse and worse. And what he saw was worse than he could possibly imagine. Snoke had already turned his heart, and he saw the destruction and death of everything that he loved. I can tell you for a certainty that it's not out of character. He responded exactly the same way that he has always responded in every film to the same type of stimulus. The thing is, he's older and wiser now. So where before he had just blindly attacked, he stopped himself, realized, what am I doing? This is wrong. But in that moment, it was too late. Now, I'm sure we've all seen the meme that talks about, oh, well, Ben is just a little boy and he just has a bad dream and Luke's going to try to kill him. And I thought the meme was funny myself, but a lot of people started to actually believe that that's what happened. That's not what happened in this scene. Kylo Ren is 23 years old and he's not just having a bad dream. There is something, though, that I find hilarious about that whole thought process, right? Kylo Ren is 23 years old. When Anakin was 22, he had a bad dream and he killed everyone. So there's precedent that this is a real thing that we should probably consider. But let's take a second to actually dwell on that thought, right? Because from the book Secrets of the Jedi, we know that Luke knew about what happened with the Jedi of the past. He knew what happened with the Jedi from the prequels. Do you think that if he knew that he could stop a second Order 66, he could stop the destruction of the Jedi for a second time, that the kids like Grogu, where he picks him up and says to Din, I will protect him with my life, right? It's not just Luke and Ben here. These are children from across the entire galaxy that Luke has devoted his life to protecting them, as well as the Jedi Order. You don't think that for one brief, fleeting moment, if he knew that he could prevent a second extermination of the Jedi, that he wouldn't consider it? Really? And that's why I love this moment. There are so many things that were at odds with each other at this at this one singular second in time? Does he stand up for his blood or for the legacy of the Jedi that he's supposed to be maintaining? Does he choose his very own apprentice or the lives of all these other children from across the galaxy that he is in charge of? He thought to himself, I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm the guy that saw good in Vader and banked the lives of the entire galaxy on it, and I was right. But he didn't see that light in Ben. So what do you do at that point? Imagine being able to see and understand the flaws in the Jedi. I mean, we all watch the Clone Wars. We all know that the Jedi failed, right? They weren't the beacons of light that they should have been. Imagine starting a new order and trying to fix all those problems, but in the end, you run into the same exact issue and you create what is going to be your own destruction again. It makes sense that he thinks that the Jedi might be a part of the problem. This scene also has some great and very deep echoes to the past as well, because it's very reminiscent of Luke going into the dark side cave. He's told, your weapons, you will not need them. He still takes his weapons. He asks Yoda, what will I find in there? Only what you bring with you. This was a beautiful echo of that same scene. Of course, Luke goes into that dark side cave. He sees the visage of Vader there, and he defeats it. But it's interesting because later it's referred to as a failure. Remember your failure at the cave. Defeating Vader with your physical prowess was not the point. And so we kind of get that resolved in Return of the Jedi, because Luke doesn't become an actual Jedi Knight while he's fighting Vader. Not when he beats Vader, but it's when he throws down his lightsaber that he says, I'm a Jedi Knight, like my father before me. Because at that moment, he gets it. When he approached Ben that night, he was not expecting violence, but that's what he brought with him by bringing his lightsaber there. And that's why I love how that's resolved at the end of the film, because Luke isn't really there. He's not bringing violence. He is passively and peacefully allowing for the resistance to escape. It's such a beautiful victory over that past mistake where he finally gets it right, like a true Jedi. Does that mean that Luke was wrong? He didn't think that Ben could be turned back to the light, but eventually Ben did return. Well, 6 years ago, when this happened, he didn't see any light in Ben. Doesn't mean that light couldn't have come back later. Also, we have to remember that, Luke was able to see the light in Vader, but only Luke saw it. Someone like Obi-Wan could not have turned Vader back. Ahsoka could not have turned Vader back. Yoda could not have turned Vader back. It was only his love for his son, Padme in general, that really could have affected him. And Luke being, especially that fateful night being something that causes him trauma, the person that gave you the trauma can't be the one that fixes it. They didn't have the same relationship. Their relationship was much more like Obi-Wan was. Luke was not going to be able to fix it. And that's pretty much evident in their final confrontation in The Last Jedi. Kylo Ren is so angry and he hates Luke so much that he doesn't even recognize the blue lightsaber that was just destroyed a second ago. He's so blinded by his rage that he doesn't even understand that this situation is not actually adding up and Luke is not here, which is what makes the distraction effective. But Luke understanding that he was not going to be the person, Kylo Ren says, are you here to save my soul? Luke understood that it wasn't going to be him, that his love for his family is the only thing that could do that. And that's why at the end he says, if you strike me down, I'll always be with you, just like your father, because it was only that love that was going to be able to bring him back. I think there's a great parallel between The Last Jedi and the Falcon and the Winter Soldier show that just wrapped up, depending on when you watched this. But it shows us that being a super soldier with a super serum in your blood and able to throw the shield is not what makes you Captain America. It's your heart that does. And The Last Jedi is kind of does the same thing. It teaches us that being a Jedi is not being a great warrior with a lightsaber who has superpowers. That's not what it is. Remember, Luke, I'm looking for a great warrior. Wars do not make one great. All of Luke's greatest feats have all been ones of trusting in the Force and being and non-violence, and all of the, you know, flashy lightsabery destruction things are the things that usually draws him closer to the dark side. I love how this kind of deconstructs that and shows us in plain and simple English that what makes him powerful is his heart. In The Last Jedi, when they called for help, nobody came to the aid of the Resistance. In Rise of Skywalker, the entire galaxy came to the aid. That's the difference. That is the hope that Luke Skywalker ended up inspiring with his final act. That's why I love how the film ended with the children playing with their toys and talking about the legend of Luke Skywalker. That's the same legend that has inspired us all. That's why I'm here making this video right now. It's such a love letter to the fans to show that sometimes, legends aren't quite what we think they are, but in the end, that doesn't matter. And it's still can be that source of inspiration. So that's part 2 of why I love The Last Jedi. Rian Johnson took the broken down Luke that was given to him by J.J. Abrams, and he returned him to the Force. He returned him to his family. He returned him to the galaxy at large, and he made him do the most heroic thing, the most heroic feat that we've seen, and inspired the galaxy. Thank you for watching the video. If you like my content, please like, subscribe, share, do all the things, and I will talk to you guys in the next one.